my only desire in this life is to offer to the fullest whatever it is that God has for me. I want to be able to give that. You know what I mean? And so I feel like in measuring what good I'm putting out in the world or what positive I'm putting out in the world, I think the impact has been my benchmark.
So if anybody's watching, if you looking for a broker you can trust, you have an expert here that is motivated by impacting your life positively. Welcome back to another episode of Finally Motivated. Today we have Miss Candace Solomon. So Candace is a real estate broker here in South Jersey. She is a superwoman and a super mom. She's an inspiration to women all over. I'm really excited to share, to learn more about her story and her journey. Candace, thank you so much for being here.
It's a pleasure. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. I think there's a lot that I can learn from you. You seem to have a hustle in you where you're a real estate broker. That doesn't just happen.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
It just happened. It's crazy. When I got into real estate and became an agent, I knew eventually I wanted to, be a broker and have an office and everything, but I didn't expect it to happen when I was 29. Like it just kind of grew, and I was just like, all right, I'm ready for it. So let's do it.
So do you think it was a combination of certain events that just came together perfectly? Or do you feel like there was something within you that you wouldn't be able to ignore and it had to happen?
A little bit of both. So I'm very much in tune with my faith.
Okay.
And so it had honestly gotten to a point where I knew that like being a broker, pouring into agents, training, leadership, all those things was, a part of my purpose and a part of who I was. Mm-hmm. And it got to a point where the more I ran from it and did less of that, the more uncomfortable I got. And I knew real estate was my thing. Like I love doing this, but I'm like, why is everything so difficult? Like, why aren't things happening, so seamlessly the way that they're supposed to? Yeah. And it's because I wasn't where I was supposed to be. And it's amazing because the second I made the shift into what I know God called me to do, everything went back to working out seamlessly. Ain't that crazy?
It is crazy. But what do you mean by that, Candace? You said that you were doing something else and you knew that you weren't aligned. How did you know that?
I started out as a solo agent, and instead of the typical progression is you start a team, right? Because that kind of like gives you the experience as far as, leadership, mentoring other agents, that kind of thing. And then you grow into the broker space. When I started a team, I was actually like a co-team leader with someone else. I had no business doing that. Okay. Worst decision I could have ever made.
Really?
Learned a lot of lessons.
Good.
A lot of hard lessons. Yeah. But we need that sometimes.
Those are the ones that you don't make again.
Yeah, no, never will, and will not. But I learned so much from it, grew so much from it, and God blessed me as a result of it. Yeah. And even while in that space, it was only like 6 months time where I was in this place where I thought I was doing what I was supposed to do, but it wasn't in the capacity that I knew I was supposed to be doing it. Yeah. I finally kind of just did what I know I should have done. Yeah. I think there's a little bit of, and I feel like we're probably going to get into this, but sometimes you doubt yourself. So much so that even if you are prepared to do something, you feel like you need to like have the attachment or support or whatever of someone else.
It's lonely.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think I felt that I wasn't qualified enough or I wasn't ready or whatever. And so I felt like, okay, well, if I'm going to do this, let me team up with someone else and do it with them, and then maybe it'll be fine. When all actuality, I didn't need them. You know what I mean? Yeah. So once I set out to do what I know I was supposed to do from the beginning, I mean, the team went amazing, and it was just like, why aren't we elevating? And so that's exactly what we did, and things just took off.
I think a lot of us do that. Why do you think we do that when we know there's so much within us that we can do, and we see examples of someone else doing it? If they could do it, we can do it, but we still feel like maybe we're not there.
Fear, and I don't want to say self-sabotage, but it's so real and it affects so many people's lives. And I think the fear factor, the fear of the unknown, a lot of times we and I don't even think it's like just our generation, but a lot of times like we want to be in control of so much that we also want to be in control of the future. And so if we don't know what, like we're at step one, and if we don't know what step 2, 3, 4, and 5 look like, we're afraid to step into step 2, regardless of if we already have, you know, what we need in order to get to step 2. We're so afraid just because we don't know exactly what step 2 looks like. But I think the difference between the people that stay at step 1 and the ones that make it to step 5 is they kind of leave fear at the door and take that step into step 2 and kind of just roll with the punches as they progress.
And I think one thing that gives me a little bit of peace in some way is realizing that we're all just figuring it out.
Oh yeah.
We really are just all figuring it out. I look at it like this. We are like a cohort on this world right now, right?
It's so true.
And there's no one that you can there's no other people that you can ask that where you can say, okay, how do we handle this new thing? Because AI never existed before.
Yeah.
COVID never happened before. So it's like, how do you handle it? We're just kind of figuring it out. And we have to, at some point, gain the confidence to feel like I can do this because I have to do it. And if I don't, someone else will do it. So it might as well be me.
Yeah, it might as well be me. It's so real. It's so real. If somebody's going to do it, it might as well be me.
Yeah.
I'm taking that with me when I leave here.
Go for it. So why real estate?
Man, real estate kind of like fell into my lap, honestly. It happened by accident.
Yeah.
I had always worked in schools. I loved working with kids. Really? But I went to college for business, and I have no idea why I got a business degree. It just felt right, and I enjoyed all the classes. So I was like, all right, I don't know where we're going with this, but we're going somewhere. And like everyone who graduates college, they're looking for their first, big girl or big boy job. And I saw this job posting to be a mortgage processor. The only requirement was that you had to have a 4-year degree.
Yeah, you qualified.
I'm like, I got that, y'all. So I
walked in there, like, give me that job.
Yeah, like, I got the degree, you got the job. Like, what we gonna do? So I went to the interview, and they interviewed a whole bunch of people. They only selected 3 of us. And, your girl got the job. So I was like, all right, I guess this means something. Like, I'm meant to do
that
mortgages.
Validation is so good.
Ain't that crazy?
When someone accepts you, like, you good.
Like, y'all picked me. Like, and so I'm one of those people where I truly do feel like everything happens for a reason. And I believe that even though I didn't know why I was getting a business degree, it landed me into this job. And I worked as a processor for 3, almost 4 years. After like the first year or 2, I actually started dreading it. Being stuck in a cubicle, office had no windows. It was like just very like depressing. I loved what I was doing, helping people get into homes, but I didn't love how I was doing it. And so you see where I'm going with this, like where I was kind of like, okay, how can I get to this same like goal that I love, like this fulfillment in getting people into homes, without being stuck in this cubicle where I'm never actually meeting these clients. I went through the process of buying my first home, and I watched my agent, and I'm like, I could do that. I could do that. Went to real estate school, passed the first time, like with flying colors, and I just like never looked back.
Oh man.
Yeah.
So there seems to be a necessity for recognizing where you can move something forward your own way. Because that's a similar situation with my wife and I, where we wanted to get into investments. And when we met with an agent, it was, we met with an agent, she unlocked the door, and that was basically it, right? And so we were looking at it from an investment perspective, and we needed some sort of guidance, I think. Maybe we expected too much, but at the same time, we saw a gap. And I think whenever you see a gap where you feel like you can push this a little bit more in a way that satisfies you better, now it's your time to at bat. Now's your chance. So this was your chance at bat. What did you do with that opportunity, with this realization that I can do this too?
It became the combination of 2 things. Like, the one, I can do this too, but once I bought my first house, I saw the reaction of my community, like my friends and family. And I'll never forget one person in particular saying, Candace, I thought you had to be like a doctor or a lawyer or someone, to buy a house. Like, And you're just a, not in an offensive way, but like you're just a regular person and you bought a house. And I realized that not only was there like a gap in, my own fulfillment as far as my own career, but there's a gap in like my community as far as them feeling like, home ownership is something that isn't attainable for them. And so I felt like, wait a second, if I can get the fulfillment in my career, but then also get the fulfillment in like showing my people that the things that they want are not out of reach. Wait a second, like we got something good here. We can kill two birds with one stone. And so I think that was the moment where I was like, yeah, this is something that I have to do.
Wow. So you're telling me you being yourself and operating in a place of authenticity and being the superwoman that you are and going out and investing in the property when you didn't get guidance from someone to purchase the property, that puts you in a place of you're inspiring others. What did that feel like?
It felt good. It felt like, and I'm sure you'll probably understand this too, but when people call you an inspiration, right? But you're not setting out to inspire. You're just kind of living and just being yourself. That's and, way. It's like, wait a second. Yeah. I'm inspiring you and I'm just being me. Yeah. It's one of those things where it's like, wow, like, thanks God. Like,
I could do this. I could be me.
Like, it's the best way to be. Yeah. Look, if I got to act like somebody else, now it's a job.
Exactly.
Like, but I'm in a place where I can show up as myself. I'm received as being myself. I'm not for everybody and I've accepted that that's okay. And it's just a beautiful place to be in. It really is.
Yeah. Did you always have a spark for entrepreneurship? Was it something that was evident in your childhood?
I think so. And this is gonna sound silly, and you probably heard this before, but a lot of times we say, I don't want to listen to nobody. Or I want to work for myself because I don't want nobody telling me what to do. But I was that person, like that kid, just very bold. Not that I couldn't like take direction, but I was always like, there's a better way of doing this. Like we could accomplish this goal a little better than that. I always had my own way of doing things, and it always seemed to work. It always seemed to work out, in my own way or whatever. And I've always been like a self-starter. As a young kid, I skipped the first grade. Like even being young, being advanced, seeking out to learn things even before, it's time for me to learn it. I've just always been that kind of person. And even before real estate, I've had, other like small side businesses and stuff like that. If you needed me to make a t-shirt, if you need me to decorate somebody's birthday party, like I was that girl doing all those things. Real estate just got to a point where it's like, all right, girl, like, simmer down, focus on the one thing, but it's always been part of who I am. Yeah.
So we all have different types of intelligence. There's like academic, and then there's intelligence that's creative. There's I guess that leadership and like leadership of yourself and just having some intuition. And it seems like you've been nurturing that for a while since you were young. Like within the personality, a personality test that I created for entrepreneurs, one of the types is a visionary. And we're often misunderstood because we see one thing, everybody sees something completely differently.
Yeah.
And how is it navigating the world as someone that confidently led yourself and confidently looked at it like, I can do this and I can probably do this better?
I think one of the things that makes me relatable to so many people is even when you say that I've confidently done things, a lot of the times I did them without the confidence that I needed. And I think that takes a certain level of like drive and perseverance, like let's do this in spite of. I've done a lot of things scared. I've done a lot of things where I felt I wasn't prepared. I've accepted and received awards that I felt like I didn't qualify for, like, and all those things are real. Even in opening the brokerage, like thankfully I have a mentor who I adore. And when it came time for, me to get my broker's license and we were talking about me starting a brokerage, I said, well, I'm not old enough to do that yet. And she's like, well, what's the age requirement to start a brokerage? And I was stuck. I'm like, there is none. She's like, so then what are you talking about?
Yeah.
And so that confidence piece, like, I felt like there had been moments where I had gotten in my own way. And honestly, had that factor not been a part of who I was, I'd probably be a little further than where I am now, even, today. So I can't fully say that I've been able to, navigate my journey confidently without being affected by the opinions and, all of that from other people. But what I can say is I've always stayed true to who I was.
Yeah.
And even when like I would make decisions, like, for example, when I was telling you how like I ran a team with someone else that, wasn't, it wasn't a good fit for me, like even morally, I've always remained true to who I was. And I've always accepted the consequences of, saying no to other things if it meant saying yes to what I believed in.
Candace, you are telling me that you are confident. Let me tell you why. Because you're confidently leading yourself, regardless of the opinions of others, to the point where when someone says an opinion about how great you are, you're like, I don't believe it. Because I know.
You're right.
And you have a feedback system in your mind, just like everyone else does. Our mind is a feedback system, and it says, I'm going to address threats to my livelihood and my future.
Wow.
And that sometimes get in the way, but it's just to protect you. But if you've been confidently yourself, then you've confidently led yourself throughout the pivots and the feedback that you've received, because there may have been situations where you would see, this would not fit me well.
Yeah.
This won't suit me well. I might not like the future that this will lead me towards. It's not a failure. And maybe it's good that you weren't confident in that decision, but you're confident in yourself. Tell me if I'm wrong.
I mean, no, you spot on. Because I said, wait a second, girl, you are confident now.
Right? Because you did it. You were like, most people don't remain in motion. And you seem to have remained in motion.
Oh yeah, for sure. And I actually say that a lot, like to myself, to other people, to the women that I mentor, things like that. It's not even always about the speed that you're moving forward, but like what direction are you moving in?
Yeah.
If the answer to that is forward, then, hats off to you. It's just one of those things where I'm always going to progress forward. Now, how fast that's going to be, now that's up to God, I guess, but I'm always going to be moving forward, always.
Can we give yourself some more grace?
People ask me if I had a New Year's resolution or anything like that for 2025. And my only personal goal I don't have financial goals this year, anything. It's literally, Candace, give yourself more grace.
I can feel it.
Yeah.
Because
I'm so hard on myself.
I can feel that. Yeah. But I mean, when you look at the evidence of the things that you've been doing while staying in motion, it doesn't come easily. It comes with a lot of beating yourself up.
Yeah.
It comes with a lot of second guessing and wondering if this identity that you're working towards is something that is even deserving, and the fact that you're doing it means that you are deserving, but it doesn't always align with how you feel in here.
Yeah.
So it's not easy. It's easier said than done, because every day is a new opportunity for you to just, okay, I'm good. Just slow it down.
Yeah.
And just say, you know what, I'm doing good. Because you are.
Yeah.
I know that's not going to mean much saying coming from me, but.
You know what's crazy? Like, and as you were speaking, I was just thinking to myself, like, Candace, when is the last time you reassured yourself?
Yeah.
And just reminded yourself, I'm like, you're okay.
Can you
like,
do it now?
You are. You gonna make me cry or something. No. But no, it's so real. Like, sometimes I do have to remind myself, like, Candace, you're okay.
Good.
Like, Candace, you're doing great. You're doing great, sweetie.
Yes,
You know, like you are where you're supposed to be, or you belong where you are, because that's huge too. I've been in spaces where I'm like, okay, y'all asked me to be here, but I don't feel qualified to be here. And I've sat at events where like I've been like, I'm on the flyer, I've been asked to speak on the panel, and I'm just like, but I'm next to these people that are like just doing these amazing things. And then those same people are looking at me and they feel like I too do amazing things. And it's like, wait a second, Candace, like you do amazing things. Like tell yourself that more often. So yeah, girl, you do amazing things.
Nice. Okay. I'm just trying to help you to New Year's resolution. You know what I mean?
Look, it's helping. Look, we're making strides forward. What I just say, direction. We're moving forward. It's great.
Yeah. Can you tell me about an emotional experience that you look forward to in the future? And what that looks like.
Experience?
Because every experience has some emotion tied to it.
Yeah.
I don't do goals in the typical way. I go towards emotional experiences. So I'll give you an example. One emotional experience, I call it destinations, is I want to positively impact and feel people having breakthroughs in real time, like on a stage or on a podcast or at a networking event. And I've realized that once you can feel the emotion, you start to see it everywhere.
Yeah.
Just like when you buy a new car, when you get the BMW, like, oh, they got one too. You start seeing like a dozen BMWs everywhere.
Yeah.
You start not feeling alone in this pursuit of this destination. And so now you can realize that you can find it in so many different places. Those breakthroughs can happen in so many areas. It doesn't have to be a static goal of it needs to be 10,000 people in the audience and this and that.
Yeah.
Because now what? Once you reach it, you're done. That's depressing. So you need an experience that you can continue to find.
Yeah. And that's deep that you attach an emotion to it.
Yes.
Yeah. Because that's huge. That's huge. I'd say, to answer your question, I would say an emotional experience that I'm looking forward to. I think celebrating my brokerage, the agents at my brokerage, their success. I know that I know each of my agents individually have goals they set for themselves. And something that I'm looking forward to is to have us all in a space where we can celebrate the journey. We're a new brokerage. We're small. We're still in that space of like trying to prove ourselves, trying to prove that we belong or, whatever. And, in the beginning of starting any business, it can be tough. So like we're experiencing growing pains. They're experiencing growing pains. And so I'm a huge advocate of like celebrating their successes, celebrating their wins. So I'm looking forward to just the fulfillment of seeing that the success that I found in real estate, I'm able to kind of like share that and spread that with the agents that come up underneath me. Now I'm at a point where I don't celebrate my own sales. I want to celebrate theirs. You know what I mean? It's kind of one of those things where I want to run a business where I'm not the person on the forefront closing all the deals. Yeah. I want them to be the ones at the closing table. I
like that. I think oftentimes we become the solution that we needed. Yeah. And when you are aligned with that, it becomes unstoppable. Like it's you're continuously solving a problem that you probably felt shouldn't have even existed. Yeah. Because you mentioned something like, I would have been further if what? If I were there, if I would have shown me that it's possible, if you could have shown the Candace in the past, you could do this, girl, right? Yeah. So now you're doing that with your brokerage. Like, y'all could do this. Yeah. Because you're speaking to young Candace.
It's so true. And you know what else? Like, and it's funny you mentioned young Candace, because when I opened my brokerage and I became more vocal about, speaking about my experience and how I wasn't always this, like, I know now we've established, like, girl, you've been confident all along, but I didn't always feel that way inside. But once I opened the brokerage, like I had people reaching out to me like twice my age. Girl, how did you do that? Like, you're an inspiration to me. And it's so crazy to like see and hear women who like even I've looked up to at or like admired at some point, then turn around and say, wait, Candace, how did you do this? Or, you know, what keeps you going? I'm like, you asking me this? Like me? So it's fulfilling. It's a full circle moment for sure.
So it seems like you're motivated by impact. You don't just want to do it. You want it to impact others.
And I like to see it.
Yeah.
Like, not that I need to do something and see the results right away, but I love if for example, if one of my agents asks me for advice, I give them advice, they take it, they do something with it, and I see the result. That maybe like their situation improved or it worked out better than they thought, different things like that. So yeah, I'm definitely like fueled by impact.
Why do you think that is? Not everyone is.
Yeah.
Why do you think you are?
I think that I know, ain't that crazy? I know that I have something, and I'm still channeling what that something is, but I definitely have something to offer.
Yeah.
And my only desire in this life is to offer like to the fullest, whatever it is that like that God has for me. I want to be able to give that, you know what I mean? And so I feel like in measuring what good I'm putting out in the world or what positive I'm putting out in the world, I think the impact has been like my benchmark in the way that I measure the work that I'm doing and how much it really means to people.
How would you describe the emotion that you get when you're able to celebrate your team?
How would I describe that emotion? It's
because you could have chosen any experience and you chose that one.
Yeah. It's a fulfillment that I haven't been able to really put language to. It's a state of gratitude, I would say. It's something that you're ever grateful for something that you didn't exactly like pray for. Maybe you desired it, but you didn't exactly pray for it because maybe you thought, you know, you weren't qualified or it was beyond your scope or your capacity of whatever it is you feel like, you know, you could do. I feel like my brokerage and the emotional experience that I described would be a result of that. Because again, where I am now, especially at this age, I didn't think I would be here. And so to be able to celebrate them, you know, to that magnitude is something that like I have no choice but to be grateful for, because it's like at one point I didn't even think this was possible. And so seeing it come to pass, the only word I can think of is gratitude. Like I'm not big headed, I don't boast, I'm not proud or anything like that. But when things like that happen and it's like I can't even take credit for it, I have no choice but to like have gratitude and just thank God. Yeah.
Do you ever look back at your journey and think to yourself, was that really me? Is this really me?
Sometimes.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
You still pinching yourself? See if you're sleeping.
Sometimes because and even where I am, it's like I want so much more. I can do so much more. And it's not that like I beat myself up in such a way, but the entrepreneur mindset like that we have is not that we aren't grateful for where we are, but we're always looking at what's next, you know, and
emotion.
Sometimes
a habit, and that habit doesn't just stop when you reach something.
Exactly. And sometimes for people who don't have that mindset, it's exhausting for them. It's overwhelming for them. They don't understand. Look, you're like, I know where she's coming from. It's they don't get it. But for us, it's like, that's fuel. Like we look forward to that. It's like, all right, boom, we did this. What's next? I'm grateful for that. That's real cute. But what's next? And so that's just where I've been. I don't even always have time to stop and pinch myself because I'm like, all right, what's next? What we gonna do?
So you still dreaming?
Oh yeah.
I mean, that's a good place to be. You know, just envisioning more for yourself consistently. And that needs to happen irregardless of external circumstances.
Yeah.
Because that's what changes the external. The more you dream about a different future, because nothing, I've realized with entrepreneurship, no one believes what you can do until you believe it and you show them a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then they start seeing that social proof. Oh, I always believed in you, girl.
Like,
Did you know? Did you?
Yep.
Or is it because you saw evidence of my faith in motion?
Yeah.
It's
man. I was just teaching a class yesterday to new agents, and I was telling them like, people don't believe it until they see it, but they won't they won't believe it unless they see you actually doing it. Yeah. Like it's so crazy. It's so crazy. They won't have faith in you until you show them. Like,
yeah, and even with yourself, you won't believe you until you start doing it.
Look,
right? Right? Have you ever had a dream and it just stays here?
I was about to say, and it stays a dream. Yeah.
That hurts.
They keep you up at night.
You know what? It gives me a little bit of it's not so bad. It is one of the most painful things because the cemetery is so valuable and has so many lost dreams that never got acted out on. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, someone told me that the thing that you maybe wanted to do 5 years ago, and maybe it wasn't the right timing or whatever it may be, if you took some sort of motion and action towards it, it doesn't have to be wasted. And the tangible result of what you were looking for, it's very possible that you can still get that same emotional experience and it looks differently. Yeah. So it doesn't have to be wasted. Maybe you wanted to do, I don't know, what's something else you wanted to do? You've considered doing in the past.
Oh man, being an attorney. I wanted to go to law school.
Okay, what progress did you make with that?
I went to business school.
Okay, but look, your experience in the business classes, they didn't go to waste.
Yeah,
you're a businesswoman. So it's like we can't mourn I mean, we can, but it won't be productive. Like we can't mourn what you could have been if you can still use that same exact experience that you've had to use it towards what you're doing right now.
Yeah.
Like how before we started, I was telling you like I love music, right? No, I never took any music lessons or anything like that, but I didn't want that to stop me. Back in school, they used to get the flutes and all that stuff, and we ain't had the money for all that. So it's like, I learned how to do it on the computer. Yeah. So it's like, yeah, I didn't become a music superstar, but I can take some time, and that's therapy for me right now. It doesn't have to be wasted. I can provide value to myself and maybe some other people and create something that I enjoy. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So nothing is wasted.
Yeah. No, that's huge. That's huge. Nothing is wasted, but also like, and I navigate my own life through this way because sometimes people are like, with the things you've been through, like, I don't even know how you're, continuing to press forward. Yeah. But I have constant perspective shifts all the time, no matter what happens. It can be something traumatic, and I'm like, where's the bright side in this? Yeah. Like, where's the positive in this? People are like, I have no idea how you got to where you are, or whatever. Like after the loss of my mom, I'm like, I mean, this is tough, but where's the bright side in this? And you're able to find a bright side. Like, I've gone through a lot of things, but if you ask me where's the bright side in each and every one of those traumatic events, I can tell you.
So you look for the clues and the experience and the notification that it can provide for you, and then you move forward.
Oh yeah, I'm one of those. I'm looking for the lesson in the situation. If something happened and surface level it feels unfavorable, like, and it's one of those things where it's like, God, why did this happen to me? I'm looking for the why did it happen to you? Yeah. And a lot of times it's for me to learn a lesson. So I'm like, okay, God, well, where's the lesson in this? Okay, cool. Let me internalize it. And I'm going to take this lesson. I'm going to, move forward with this newfound knowledge that I have. Yeah. And once I do that, I mean, there's been times where like I'll go through something. Okay, I learned the lesson. It hurt real bad. And when similar situations come up, I handle them with ease. Why? Because I learned the lesson.
Yeah. So you're
yeah.
built for this. But when I say you're built for this, that is also a process where you created a foundation. You have the studs, you have the brick, you have all the building material, and those are experiences.
Yeah.
Why are you so resilient?
What's
You
the
got a brick
alternative?
house.
I ask myself very often, well, like, what's the alternative? If you're not resilient, if you don't persevere through this thing, and there's always a thing, right? If you don't make it through to the other side, what's the alternative? I think back to that cubicle that I was miserable in. It was a consistent check. I was getting paid every 2 weeks, but I would cry on my way to work every morning because that's how bad I did not want to go inside. So, Candace, what's the alternative? Like, there is none. This has to work.
Yeah.
And that's just how my faith is set up. This has to work. What I'm doing has to work. There's no alternative.
Yeah.
I did it because God told me to, and so because He told me to, He's gonna. It's gonna work.
Yeah.
It's gonna work. But I have to do the work too, right? A lot of times, like with me being faith based, we're like, oh well, God says, give Him your best and He'll do the rest, or whatever. We come up with our own little quotes or whatever. But I'm also willing to do the work, and so that's why my life is the way that it is, because I have no problem like getting down and dirty and doing the work. I'll learn the lessons and all that.
A lot of people will hear the lessons, they'll feel the lessons, but they don't really act on their newfound perspective of the lesson. They'll go to church and, ooh, he talking to me.
He talking to me.
And then you go home and you're like, it's like you never had a conversation. There was no talk to you. So, but there's a difference with you. You have a mindset that was developed. Do you feel like it's something that you learned from a collection of books, in addition to it being who you are? It was also nurtured. What do you think helped nurture that? Can you give some, because we want to be more like you.
You know what I think? I guess the easiest way to answer this question is to piggyback off what you just said. A lot of times people will, a lesson's being taught and they might hear it, he's talking to me, and they won't apply it. Well, in order for you to progress, if that lesson needs to be learned, then what's going to happen? Life is going to life, and the lesson is going to be taught to you again. And it's going to continue to happen until you learn that lesson and you progress forward. And I've been in situations where I didn't internalize the lesson, and so I was taught it again. And when it was taught again, I didn't want to learn it again. And so I've kind of just developed this mindset where, okay, if what I just went through, I don't want to go through again, or I don't want to feel these feelings again, the way to bypass that is to learn from this. I think that the first thing I can think of is I lost my mom. I lost both my grandmothers within the same month. When my dad finally did start, dating again, I went ring shopping with him because, he wanted to marry, the woman that he was dating, and she passed away. I just recently lost my grandfather. So I've gone through like loss after loss after loss after loss. And I won't say after each time it gets easier, because it absolutely doesn't. Like, grief is grief, but because I've dealt with so much of it, I have my own way of surviving it and coping with it and taking the lessons and, shifting my perspective and finding the positive. And that's just grief we're talking about, but I apply those same principles in business, in motherhood, in how I deal with friendships and relationships, all of those things. It's very, very rare that a friend or, partner, whoever, has to tell me the same thing twice, because I'm so intentional now where I want to hear what you're saying and I want to apply it, because I want to make sure if I heard you, or if I did wrong by you, or, I made you feel a certain type of way, or whatever the case may be, I know so much of what that feels like, that hurt and those negative feelings, that I don't want to be the person that causes that on someone else. So I'm going to learn the lesson.
I get it.
I'm like that in all areas of my life.
It hurts so much that you don't want it to, if you can prevent you experiencing the emotion of going back to the cubicle, you will do everything possible to prevent that from happening. And I'm so sorry for the loss that you've experienced.
Oh, thank you.
You don't deserve that. Nobody does. And I'm sorry that happened. And I'm proud of you for being able to use it as a notification and learn lessons and apply it to more of the nurturing of your foundation and who you are. You didn't let any of it go to waste. And I think more importantly, you respect mortality.
Oh, yeah.
And you look at life differently when you do. It's such a blessing. And I'm sorry, I don't want to make you cry, but it is a blessing to know that you have a gift today.
Mm-hmm.
You have and this is what you know, so you can do. Let's do as much as we can to make it an amazing experience, because you can.
Absolutely.
And a lot of us haven't been hurt in that way to make that shift.
Mm-hmm.
And so I remember I got diagnosed with type 1 diabetes when I was in college, right? And before that moment, I always looked at, things happen to people.
Mm-hmm.
But things don't happen to me like that. But why me?
Yeah.
As if I was special.
Mm-hmm.
And when that happened, I realized I'm not that special. I'm really not. I'm pretty insignificant, because who am I to say that I shouldn't get it, but he should, or she should?
Yeah.
And once I brought myself down a little bit and realized, you know what, anything can happen.
Yeah.
To me, to you, to anybody. But the way that we take that in and realize how we can look at the world differently, because we're all just discovering on this journey.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't have to let it break us to the point where we don't have motion.
Mm-hmm.
And some of us, we utilize experiences to remain in motion because of the pain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I firmly believe that there's a difference between, because like you said, and the way that I word that is, none of us are exempt from suffering.
Yes.
Right.
That's
and
exactly
it's
it.
all in how we deal with the suffering and what we do with that. And I think that there's a difference between the ones that allow for that suffering or their circumstances or, situations to define them, or do they take what could define them and create their own definition?
Yeah.
And I think that that's what defines where we go in our lives. Yeah. If we allow the things that happen to us to become who we are, or do we allow for the things that happen to us to shape us so that we can propel forward to whatever it is that we set out to do?
Yeah. Oh, I think a lot of people are going to get so much value from this, because that perspective of the perspective that you've gained from everything that you've been through, and here you are and killing it and continue to build upon yourself and making your loved ones proud, mm-hmm. is a testament to just your confidence. I want to go back to that.
I appreciate that.
I like that you're able to lead yourself despite, in spite of, everything that hits you. Entrepreneurship by itself is already tough and lonely.
Yeah.
How do you deal with pivoting?
I think because I'm like we defined, and I took the personality test that you have too. So when you mentioned the visionary and stuff, I was like, I scored that. Yeah, that was me. That was me. It was 73% too. I was like, oh girl, you a visionary.
That's right.
But when it comes to pivoting, I think that it's a result of the quick shifts and turns and the unexpected things that have happened in my life where I've been forced to pivot. Yeah. I think that, I excel when it's time to pivot, because I never get so stuck in my ways that I'm not able to adapt. Something that I've learned, and maybe this is one of the things that, business school, benefited me a little bit, is you have to always be in position where, you're adapting with the times. The market's always going to change. Time's going to change. Economy's going to change. And the way that you survive the shifts, the highs and lows, is you adapt.
Yeah.
And so I've just been able to pivot and adapt. If I, hit a roadblock or I hit a wall, I'm looking, okay, well, what are the potential, alternatives? Which one makes the most sense? Which ones feel good? Which ones do I feel like are going to not just benefit me, but benefit those who, depend on me or, look to me for guidance or whatever. I'm looking at all those things. And so I take all of those things and I kind of, mesh them together and I pivot to whatever direction that is.
I love that.
Yeah.
What do you and that's one of the hardest things for entrepreneurs, because we hold on to something because we had a vision for it, even though things aren't looking well.
Yeah.
You're holding on to it because of our ego,
Yeah. And as entrepreneurs, we're also planners.
Yeah.
And so we may have that vision, but we also have the plan that leads us to the vision. And so sometimes when we talk about pivoting, it might not be that the vision is changing, but maybe the process that we planned out, like maybe something happens, during that time that kind of causes us to shift. And so we have to kind of finagle it and maneuver it however we need to. But the vision itself, and I feel like that's huge. If the vision remains the same, eventually we get there.
Exactly.
And people don't always understand, but it's like eventually we're going to get there. Eventually we're going to get there.
And that's why within my coaching framework, I go by destinations, which is emotional experience, because it helps with the pivoting.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be a requirement. I remember feeling so much shame and embarrassment when I came to the realization that I should pivot from being a commercial real estate agent and be a motivational coach and help entrepreneurs discover their why and maximize their strengths and stuff, because it's something that I needed. I'm so much more passionate about that. Not that the thing that I chose previously is bad. It's just when you go into entrepreneurship, you want an advantage. Yeah. You don't want to just start at the same starting line as everybody else.
Yeah.
You became a broker because you're good at something and you're able to reach someone. And if you are able to utilize those strengths and experiences, you have a shot.
Yeah.
You wouldn't do it if you didn't feel like you had a shot.
Right, yeah.
Now, so if you chose something else where it's like, I'm okay at it, it's going to be short-lived. You might do it for 2 years, maybe 5. If you feel like you're desperate and you don't want to, there's no other options for you, but then you're not fulfilled. So the pivoting part, it's a tough one. It's a tough one, especially when you don't have a community. What did it look like for you because what kind of examples of entrepreneurship did you experience in other people?
My mom growing up, I don't know if you remember Avon, but the lotions and the soaps. My mom was like that Avon girl, that Avon girl in Camden back in the day. And so I remember seeing that. I remember my dad's job going on strike and my mom stepping up and working 3 jobs to help, support the family. I remember her, just a number of things where unless I'm asked a question like that, I don't always because at the time, like a lot of times when things are happening, especially when you're younger, you don't realize how much you're actually internalizing until you get older and you realize what you have become. A lot of that is the result of the things that you experienced when you were younger. I had completely forgot my mom sold Avon until what happened, and like one of my sisters or somebody brought up like the body oil that like repels mosquitoes or whatever, and I was like, wait a second, I forgot mommy even sold Avon. And it had me think back to like all the different like business and like entrepreneurial kind of things that she used to do, and I'm like, wait a second, I wonder if that's where I get this from. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. It's when you said that, I just remembered this concept where we're the children that we were, we still are.
Yeah.
We just have a lot of conditioning and change of circumstances. And the dreams that we used to have, the experiences that we've internalized, there's no point, a static point in our lives where it's like, boom, you're an adult now. I mean, sure, we can say legally 18, but emotionally,
yeah,
it doesn't really, there's no line.
yeah,
And I think one of the things is we start forgetting that childlike imagination for ourselves. And it's necessary for entrepreneurs because you have to dream.
yeah.
The same question that parents used to ask, what do you want to be when you grow up? We have to ask that ourselves every day almost. What do I still like this? What do I want to do when I, 2026?
Yeah, when I grow up.
Yeah, when I grow up. We ain't never growing up.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing. As long as you still maintain the responsibilities that you have and you maintain the childlike, because even with building this office, this takes imagination and just a fearless amount of, I don't care if it doesn't make sense to anybody right now.
Yeah.
I'm still going to do it.
And that's deep that you say that. That statement right there, like, I don't care if it doesn't make sense to other people. You have to find that place. Yeah. You have to find that place. Looking and waiting for validation or acceptance from other people to understand your vision. It's like they're not in your mind. They don't share the set of eyes that you have. Sometimes the vision is only given to you. Yeah. A lot of times it is. Yeah. And we wait because we're waiting for, the green light or the thumbs up from other people. And it's like, a lot of times they're not going to jump on the bandwagon until they see that it's cool to do so. For sure. So sometimes you just got to do it anyway.
Yeah. What do you do for fun?
Man, I shop and I eat. No, I'm kidding.
I like that.
I love quality time with like my family and my friends. I do think that all the loss that my family has experienced has brought us closer together. We're like, we love game nights and stuff like that. So I love family time. I like quality time with my son, taking him out and stuff like that. I was in cheerleading for some time. Oh, okay. So I love, going to competitions and, tumbling classes, like coaching kids and, stuff like that. Yeah, just different things like that.
I like that. Yeah. You mentioned a lot of the things that truly matter. I think oftentimes we start forgetting our humanity when we get lost in social media, and we only start looking at the result of a static image of someone's point in life. And we don't look at the experience, the emotional experience. We look at, oh, they're doing this and they look happy. I need to be like that. And because I'm not like that, I'm depressed. I'm sad. And that's why I asked this, because it's so important to remember what matters to you. And from what you said, it's your loved ones. You value that. You value being able to make impact. And like in a community where it's like you can cheer, you said you mentor, right? And it's like when you can find things that you would do for free, but someone would pay you for. Some people pay for companionship. Some people pay for like to be my mentor. Yeah. Right? You could charge for that. You're like, I'd do it for free. Depends on who you ask, who asked, right?
Yeah.
But still.
But like you said, it's the love for it. It's the love for it. And when someone's willing to pay you to do it too, it's like, wait a second.
It's a bonus.
That's my gift.
That motivates you to keep doing it. So you took the personality assessment. You got visionary. That was the highest.
Yeah.
What were the others?
There were like two other ones that were like kind of neck and neck, but it wasn't given visionary. I did it a couple of days ago. I have it in my phone because when I saw the results, I saved it.
I know.
And
I almost want to go get it right now.
I'm like, it's in my phone somewhere. Don't they send you the results to your email?
They do. That's why. Okay, give me 2 seconds. Yeah. I really want to get it.
I'm like, we can look this up. Hold on. Finally motivated.
Oftentimes we take personality assessments and it gives you a static this is who you are because of when you were born, or this is who you'll ever be.
Yeah.
And like, I created something that extracted the things that matter most to you at the moment that you're taking it. You can change.
Yeah.
And you can, so one of them is a change maker. And a change maker is motivated by impact and being able to be someone that can help prevent a preventable harm or pain. And if you or your loved one was affected by something, you may now become a change maker because you're motivated to make sure that this doesn't happen again. But you may not have been before the experience. You know?
Yeah.
So it's like the static personality test that you took maybe 2 years ago before an experience may not be relevant anymore.
Right.
So it's very fluid. And it also helps you understand like what you're driven by. When I was doing the commercial real estate, I had a really good coach, and she said, you got to find your why. And it was a tough assignment because I had to be honest with myself.
Yeah.
Instead of dig deep. Yeah. Because at first I said, I want financial freedom. And it stopped there. Like, but why? And then, but why? It just keep going, and oftentimes we react automatically with what we think someone wants to hear. Yeah. Like, oh, take care of my family, this and that. That's not for everybody. It might be for you, but a lot of people, it's a selfish thing. And it's okay that it be a selfish thing.
Yeah, like if that's what it is, that's what it is. I taught a class yesterday for new agents, and I asked them, what's your why? Yeah. Because when we were working the class was about like attracting your first client or whatever. And I'm like, well, first, like, let's establish why we're here. Yeah. And so I asked them what's their why. And like more than half the class was like, I want to help build generational wealth. And I'm like, all right, that's cool. You got that off the shade room because everybody says that.
Exactly.
Who are you? What are you good at? What's your story? Like, and I'm asking questions, and they're like, all right, like now the wheels are turning. Now you're thinking. Yeah. Because there's something like dig deeper. And sometimes it takes time. Sometimes it forces you to look in the mirror, ask yourself hard questions. Yeah. But it needs to be done to find like why you're doing what you're doing.
Yeah. And I think a lot of times we feel like we don't have the time to do that. We just want to take the action. We focus on the action. Yeah. The static thing. I just know I need to make some money. and so you do it. Yeah. But there is a surprisingly awful statistic about how businesses do not last longer than 5 years. Yeah. And I feel that I'm on a mission to help shift that a little bit because I think a lot of us are just misaligned. Yeah. You know, we just do things.
Or like you said, like we don't always take the time to do it because the real power in establishing that why is not just in knowing yourself, but you're establishing like your mission. And if you can keep that at the forefront of everything you do in business, it makes it a lot easier to weather like the not so easy days. Yeah. The storms and stuff, it's like they're happening, but if at the core of what you're doing is that mission or that why that you establish, it's like your compass. It's like that North Star. It never goes away. And I feel like once I establish that like for myself, it's like I don't care what's going on. Like I said earlier, like this has to work. It has to work because I've established whatever that thing is, and I'm not gonna deviate away from it.
Yeah. Okay, Candace, I got the
you
results.
Pulled it up?
Yeah, we have the
What
results.
What is
and
it?
It is a great combination. I felt what some of your types were, and okay, I got it. So you're predominantly a change maker.
Am I?
Yes.
Well, I thought I was a visionary. Is a visionary on there?
You are too.
Oh, okay.
You
all right.
are a visionary too. I mean, yeah, you absolutely are a visionary, but you are way more of a change maker than anything else. And it's what I said. You've been through situations where it makes the actions that you take that much more meaningful. And you want to create impact for others and provide an experience that is better than what you've experienced in some way. Yeah. Whether that be with business or being able, because the fact that, You could have chosen anything that you're looking forward to, and you chose, I want to impact my team. You know, I want to see the look on their faces when they start selling and doing this. That is what motivates you. It fills your cup in a major way more than anything else. And that's why you answered that way, because you're speaking from the heart.
Yeah.
You know, like despite the other, you speaking right from the heart.
It's crazy because when you asked that, I didn't even think about like something for myself. I could have answered something for myself.
You could have.
I think maybe that's just how I heard the question. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's what we do. We talk from the heart to the heart. Yeah. Okay, so that's the change maker. Externally, so external motivation is when your environment can influence what you feel. That's when you watch a video or you go to a motivational speaker and you're like, or you're in church and you're like, yeah, that's me. But there's a limit to it. There's a time limit on it. And also the physical space that you're in, that matters too. So once you're gone from that physical space, it just wears off. You're done with that video, you're not motivated no more. You know? So externally, you're motivated by seeing the impact that you have on others and seeing that it can positively influence and impact them in their lives. Internally, you're motivated by being able to be someone that can make a difference in some way. So second up with that is you are an expert. What does that mean? So,
check me out.
Yeah. So as an expert, you are someone who you're the go-to person because you know your stuff. And you take pride in having the integrity to be able to say, when I say that it's this, it's this. I checked it.
Oh yeah.
You can't take away my reputation. You know, like you're a broker. You know what I'm saying? You're a broker. So you checking your stuff. And so anybody's watching, if you looking for a broker you can trust, you have an expert here that is motivated by impacting your life positively. Right. And so with an expert, you're motivated by the information that you're able to acquire because it weighs heavily on your identity and the way that people perceive you. If you can see me as someone that knows their stuff, then you can trust me, and it matters to you that people trust you. And then third, you're a visionary.
Look, I'm waiting for that word to come out. I know I saw visionary.
Yeah, you see things that where other people don't see. Yeah. For me as a visionary, the way that it comes up is I like to impress myself. I am motivated at the core to impress myself. That's why I said when I did this and I started like doing, I'm trying to impress myself. Yeah. That's why it doesn't matter what other people think. But then it does externally. Like externally, if you are impressed by something that I'm doing, it motivates me to keep doing it again because it satisfies my ego. So when you say, oh, that's cool, satisfies my ego, now I want to impress myself. Now, so it just continues this cycle of motivation. And that's why I feel like I can help other people motivate themselves, you know, because it's like you understand that. You understand that you can find ways where that can continue to happen. So as a change maker, one of those ways is continue to keep that motion of impacting in small bite-sized ways, because it's really a habit of keeping your strength in motion. So when I said that you're a superwoman initially in the introduction, like that's how you keep your superpower strong. You're doing those reps. Like change makers, you guys need to be in soup kitchens and talking and like whatever aligns with you, so that you can do those reps, because you don't know where it's actually going to take you, but you do know that it fuels you in a way that it would drain someone else. Right. You know, did I hit that right? Did I hit the nail?
I think so. Yeah. I think so. I wasn't surprised by the Changemaker. It makes perfect sense for sure. Because you said that was my biggest one.
That was your biggest one. Yeah. And it aligns with your answers.
Yeah. Yeah, it does.
It really
Well,
does.
like the more we talk about it, especially like I do agree with the visionary piece, but as soon as you mention like Changemaker being one of them, I'm like, oh, wait a second. Like, yeah, that's me.
Because at the end of the day, a lot of like we have to have a little bit of a lot of them, right? For you to be a functioning entrepreneur that constantly makes things happen when other people don't know about it yet, and you got to prove yourself. You got to hustle, you got to connect, you got to analyze, you got to make change, you got to envision, you got to do all those things, but not all of them motivate you.
Right.
And that's the key.
Staying motivated and staying aligned too.
Yeah.
Because even to go back to what you were saying about like doing the work in here, you could have easily said, oh, I love how this turned out. I'm going to go and remodel everybody else's house. I'm going to go start a construction company.
Yeah.
But like you stayed aligned to what you were doing. And you're like, wait a second. Like I'm good at this. I like what I did, but this is why I did it.
Exactly.
And so like, let's stay in alignment here. I'm going to help other entrepreneurs. That's why I did what I did.
Yeah. Sometimes you just got to do things.
Yeah.
Even if you don't love it.
Yep.
But it makes sense. Like I don't like laying flooring.
But it had to be done.
It had to be done. And then like, so, and it was done because our contractor ran out with our money, and we're like, you know what? We gotta get it done.
Like we just gonna do it ourselves.
We bought every tool at Home Depot, just started cutting and gluing and nailing everything. And I'm grateful for that. But I'm not motivated by it. I said, I'm not doing this for nobody. I don't even want to do it for myself. Yeah. You know?
I didn't even want to do what I did.
Yeah. But what I was motivated by was after hanging up the cabinets and painting and all of that, I was motivated by the reaction that people had when they came into the house and they said, who was your contractor?
Contractor who?
Right? I don't want you to look at it and say, who was your contractor? Well, did you do this?
Yeah.
You know, and that fed into my ego. You're impressed by it?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm gonna keep. I don't know if I'm gonna keep doing it. But that's what made me do it.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, I love that.
Candace, this has been a great, amazing conversation. Thank you for being open, vulnerable, speaking from the heart, and being yourself, because we gotta cut through a lot of the noise that we see online, because it prevents a lot of us from seeing how we can actually be inspired by someone's journey. And I think we can get so much inspiration from your journey. Not be, and it's, some of us get inspiration by the amount of houses that you sell. I get motivation and inspiration from why you do it.
Wow. Yeah.
And other people will as well. So thank you. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I was going to say thank you for, having me here.
I was just going to say, how can people get in touch with you?
Oh, man, I'm mostly online on Instagram. So that's just my full name, just Candace Solomon _. And yeah.
Is this what you expected?
Yes and no.
Okay.
Yes and no. You mean like the experience here? Yeah. So a lot of times, and I was just telling someone close to me this, I get asked to do stuff like this all the time. I don't always say yes because everything doesn't align. You know what I mean? But there was something about you guys. So I did my homework a little bit too, and I was like, wait a second, like, I don't like to make time for a lot of things, but I can make time for this. And I didn't know if it was like interview style or, if you had questions planned. And that's why I said yes and no, because I didn't know what to expect. But I knew either way, Candace, you can go in there, you're going to be yourself. Right. So, whether it's a conversation that's flowing or it's, Q&A type thing, it's going to be what it's going to be. So, but this is what you have going this is only the beginning. Yeah. I believe that.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. I'm going to apply my visionary, hat consistently with
You already have.
I have. You're right.
Yeah.
That's your grace coming out.
There you go.
Right?
Oh, look, I'm working on it.
Yeah.
New Year's resolution is resolute.
So one thing, what you want for yourself, give it to others, and you'll continue to create the habit of doing it for yourself.
Yeah.
So you giving me that grace is going to teach you how to give it to yourself. So keep giving people grace. You know, your team going to watch it. But you should give me grace.
Remember when you said you was going to celebrate us? Like, oh, Lord, y'all. All right.
Yeah. We could talk for days, but this has been a true pleasure and honor. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you. Thank you. Definitely got to do it again.
Absolutely. We'll make it happen.